Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Now, up next, we have our Business and Buzz segment brought to us by Revere Securities. And today we're featuring Leo Giel, CEO of KayaNow. And one of Kaya's focuses is on the development of the HighThere platform and app, where you will find a cannabis-friendly social network. And today, we're chatting all things cannabis, from being a banned substance to becoming a billion-dollar industry. Cannabis has sure gone a long way, and the legalization of marijuana for recreational and medical purposes paved the way for its boom in the market. This new green revolution opened countless opportunities, both for employment and investment. It has also made an impact on the economy. There are even POS systems, point of sale systems, now dedicated specifically to cannabis retail. And during the COVID-19 lockdowns, there were many scenarios in different countries that indicated a rise in sales of cannabis to many anxious individuals. So much that some places have deemed the marijuana industry essential. So whether you're planning to invest in this market or simply want to know more, stay tuned as we aim to demystify and normalize cannabis and all its amazing and proprietary uses with my panel of cannabis enthusiasts and aficionados. I'm a huge advocate and licensed user and microdose daily to my benefit. And today, Leo is joined by our expert at hand, Dr. Melanie Bone. She's been an OBGYN for over 30 years and started practicing cannabis medicine back in 2016. She is director of medical cannabinoid therapies at Morse Life Health System, a 5-star Gold Seal teaching nursing home in West Palm Beach, Florida, in case anybody is wondering about her expertise. Welcome to the show, Leo and Dr. Bone. What an incredible honor to have you here.
Thank you, Zen. Very nice to see you again. Thanks for having us on. We're big fans.
Nice to see you, Dr. Bone.
Great to see you.
Welcome to the show, Leo. Listen, HighThere is such an incredible concept, and what you have going on is pretty unique. So I'll start with you to get the ball going here. HighThere is a very much needed virtual space for cannabis users and enthusiasts where they'll connect and come together. It even once claimed to be the #1 dating app in the cannabis industry, but since you guys have shifted away from its dating roots and are now more community focused, your homepage is filled with educational articles about cannabis, about smoking it, and the cannabis business in general. But talk to me about KayaNow's vision with HighThere and the app and what your ultimate goal is here.
Sure. Fun fact, we did have someone find love on our platform years ago, and they did get married. And we have a couple of people out there that have the logo tattooed on their body parts.
I love it.
But that's a true story. But one of the things that we really wanted to do, we wanted to elevate our game. We created a community that we wanted to be focused on exploring the culture and craft of and science of cannabis. And we believe collectively it's our responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequality surrounding this plant, so we can unlock its true potential. And that's one of the main reasons we went out and we found bright minds like Dr. Melanie Bone and Dr. Donner to get involved with the company and help us be intelligent about how we're talking about the plant, and then also be forward thinking, excuse me, to help educate the world on the best ways to source, use, and understand this plant. And then most importantly, to bring the world together and let them know this is a safe place. Everyone's welcome. Respect your friends, respect us, and you have a place forever.
Great. I love it. I mean, definitely it's very easy to use as well. And you could get started on the app with just your Facebook profile. I'm assuming it's very user friendly. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Bone, listen, this is something that I want to address because our audience is always emailing me and writing in, but getting medical advice and accessing, helpful resources to help consumers on their cannabis journey is very critical and key. Essentially, knowledge is power. What do you say to the naysayers out there who simply refuse to acknowledge the benefits of this plant? The parents that would rather give their teenagers who are suffering from mental health disorder, Ativan and Prozac versus responsibly microdosing, CBD or THC and going the healthier route. What is your perspective on this?
Well, thank you for asking me. So, I was one of those naysayers. I have 5 children, and one of my 5 children really liked cannabis a lot as a teenager, to the point that I had to ship that child out to the woods of Utah to get them away from any drugs of any variety. And it was really only cannabis. And ultimately, unfortunately, they decided to put that child on a medication for mood, and he almost died of a drug reaction. And while he was in the intensive care unit, he said to me, "You understand, Mother, I use cannabis to manage my mood, and I want to go back to doing it because I'll never have this reaction with cannabis." And from there, I said, "Okay, I'm going to learn about the science behind cannabis." And there is a lot of science, but it gets poo-pooed because there are none of the randomized, prospective, double-blinded controlled trials that people in medicine often use as the gold standard. And I think we have to move away from that and say observational studies have power. And we're having just a medicine coming up in a different way. Instead of having the research, run it through the FDA, get approval, and then ultimately a lot of those medicines get pulled off the market anyway. Now we're having grassroots use of the product, and then we start fine-tuning how to best use it for all sorts of issues, including mental health in teenagers.
Yeah, I love it. Look, as a very responsible user, I feel cannabis expands my mind. It allows me to see things from a new perspective and reconsider otherwise, an overlooked solution, so to speak, because it really boosts my creativity without a doubt. And I always tell my friends, if you need some help with creative problem solving or you're experiencing creative block, you could definitely unlock your potential with a few doses or even an edible. But it's back to what you said, and tying it back to the medical community, because it helps cancer patients. I mean, cannabis eases nausea, it helps pain, and it increases appetite, allowing all these patients such a higher quality of life during these cancer treatments. I saw it firsthand with my father. So this is so important to me, and I want to hear from Leo's perspective here. Talk to me, Leo, about the importance of bringing on a medical professional like Dr. Bone to the platform, and why do you feel that it's critical that we have medically trained professionals and licensed professionals to really assess all this incoming flow of questions?
100%. I live in Northern California. I have 4 children. I can tell you cannabis is everywhere. People grow it in their backyard. Pastors at church are harvesting cannabis, so it's everywhere. Interesting for me coming from the East Coast to realize that at first. And then I said, well, this is the future. We can't look away. We have to educate. Imagine children not learning that if you drink too much alcohol, you get sick and you can't drive a car, all these things. I said, we have to be a thought leader here. So I brought on Dr. Bone and Dr. Donner. I wanted to allow them to have access to our audience and our audience to have access to them. So they publish content, and at the same time, our users can ask them questions. One day, if I have it my way and we're successful enough, I'll offer free access to our doctors digitally around the clock for people that are in need of medical advice that they can't get. Because I see so often on our platform, we have hand raisers. I'm suffering from anxiety. I'm trying to get off of an addiction to something else that's much worse. I need to deal with depression. And this is really important. And when I started to look within our community, I was very moved. And I said immediately, guys, we have to go out and get medical professionals to get involved, because this is what we need.
Yes, and I want to ask Dr. Bone a very specific question in relation to kids and epilepsy, but I want to bring it to the data first, because I want to get this out there, because it is the world's most commonly cultivated, trafficked, and used drug. And as the push for legalization here at home and abroad, marijuana is really garnering very significant attention from investors, right, from manufacturers, from researchers, and despite this plant being illegal under federal law as a Schedule I drug, the U.S. legal marijuana industry right now is estimated at $13.6 billion, right? With 340,000 plus jobs devoted to the handling of this plant, according to data that we've received. So there's a lot of indication in the industry and beyond of where we are headed. But I want to hear from Dr. Bone on one of the many questions that we have been receiving with respect to, it helps little kids with epilepsy, and CBD oil. We have now seen in research that it's helping hundreds of children by reducing or eliminating severe seizures. Can you talk to me a little bit more about this? Because I find it fascinating.
Well, of course, because remember, this is an FDA-approved drug now, Epidiolex, which is purified CBD, which has been shown to be instrumental in helping manage seizure disorder in children. And for many parents, there's comfort in the fact that it's not CBD bought off Amazon or even at a medical marijuana doctor's office. It's CBD from a medical source with a prescription. There's some limitations. It's only technically approved for 2 types of seizure disorder, but it's used in multiple different ways. And I think now many patients who were not believers, when they saw what happened with Charlotte Figi, right, who Charlotte's Web is named after, they really became a believer. And of course, when Sanjay Gupta did his weed special, it helped very much. And so it's interesting because that drug is not even scheduled. So the natural plant is Schedule 1, meaning that it has no good medical use and a high risk of addiction. The Epidiolex is not scheduled. And let me point out that you were talking about cancer. Marinol, which is a synthetic THC, is in fact Schedule 3. And pretty much any doctor can write that prescription for poor appetite and nausea during cancer treatment. So how do you have one entity that's Schedule 1, 3, and unscheduled? It doesn't really make sense. So hopefully we'll see some change in the market and the government will reevaluate this.
Yes, I'm hoping that we do make strides here, because it's definitely the next generation of where we are right here in terms of medical research. Leo, talk to me about your perspective, not only as a founder and the brain behind the HighThere platform, but more as a parent, in where you are now hearing lots of myths, so to speak, about the industry, and where we are hearing, oh, vaping causes lung cancer. This is a gateway drug. You will end up addicted. And you're hearing all this stuff and you're thinking to yourself, if I can only just educate them, right? So that's probably where this came from. Talk to me about some of the misconceptions that are out there that you are hearing.
Yeah, 100%. So, Dr. Bone brought up a very good point, and that was another big motivation for us, because we have this enormous industry. You said it perfectly, and definitely, I recognize there's a tremendous opportunity, a big total addressable market, and the problem is all the marketeers came in, and you have every product under the sun. You never know what is good, what is bad. So we also said, all right, we're going to take it upon ourselves. And by the way, we haven't tackled this yet, but we're going to break through the noise, and we're going to be that trusted service or trusted voice, if you will, that you can go to and find what products work and which ones don't. And more importantly, you can talk with others who are using products to solve the same problems all over the world. And that was really one of the big motivators for us, to be able to allow you to also talk to your peers about what's working. And yeah, sure, I think, there's so many questions unanswered. Can you smoke too much marijuana and drive a car safely? Can you consume it via vape versus edibles, and what are the adverse effects of each? So that's why we wanted to have Dr. Bone and Dr. Donner, and eventually a bigger staff of doctors on a payroll to help us to educate the world. And honestly, so many folks all over the world reach out, and our most popular segment is when we let the community ask questions to the doctors, and we pick the most popular one to get answered.
And we're out of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this part 2, because we have I just checked our schedule. We have you scheduled for the next month. So this is going to be continued. But thank you so much for coming on and bringing such an incredible guest. Dr. Bone, what an honor to have you.
Thank you for being there and having me.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. That was Leo Giel, CEO and founder of KayaNow and HighThere platform. Check them out. The HighThere app, they're all over social media and especially on the gram. And the key takeaways, my friends, is that more than half of Americans believe marijuana use should be legalized. The drug is already legal in 35 states, with 16 allowing adults to legally use it for recreational purposes. We have shifts in political policy that are also changing as we find out more about the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. And although it is still a controlled substance under federal government guidelines, the FDA continues to evaluate changes to marketing and export rules. And there you have it. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.